Okay guys, so we're going to do a review for the surface area section, surface area and volume section for Proficiency 3. Now I'm going to do a couple with just plain pictures, but on the test itself and the retake, it's just going to be word problems. So I'm going to do more work with just the word problems than these figures by themselves. So the one I do want to go over though is the surface area of a volume, or surface area of a cylinder. Okay, I'm not going to go over these two with you because if you look at them and you look at your equations list, you legitimately have equations, and this one is pi r squared plus pi r l, that you can plug all these numbers into. The only thing you have to be aware of is that this r is not 8, it's 4, and the same thing with this right here when you get that equation. It's not going to be 18, it'll be 9. Okay, so as long as you can remember those two, you'll be good on those. Okay, but the one we want to be careful of is this cylinder, because you don't have a specific equation you're working with. You're just piecing together all the pieces. Now what we have is two circles, and if you unwind this piece going around, you have one rectangle, and I'm going to say it's a rectangle. Okay, the circles, you can find the area easily enough. Okay, the area of a circle is pi r squared. Okay, our r is 10. Pi 10 squared. And if you put that in your calculator, pi 10 squared will get you 314.16. Now what you want to be aware of here is that this rectangle, you can't just take the radius or the diameter. What you have to take is the distance all the way around this shape. Okay, that's called the circumference. So to find the circumference, you need pi times the diameter. So in this case, it's pi, and the diameter, the distance all the way across, is 20. So pi times diameter, so pi times 20, is 62.83. Now, a lot of people, what you've been wanting to do is just do 62.83 plus 314. Okay, but this circumference right here isn't the area of the rectangle. All that is the distance around the rectangle. Okay, it's essentially the base of the rectangle. So what you want to do is take this 62.83 and multiply it by the height of the rectangle. Okay, and that's going to be 9. So 62.83 times 9, and that will get you 565. Let me put that down. 565 point, I'm just going to say 0.5. Okay, that is the area of the rectangle going around. Now you want to take that 565. Let me click out of that thing. Okay, and you want to add all the circles. Okay, we have a circle at the top, and we've got a circle at the bottom. So we're going to add 314.16 plus 314.16. So 565.5 plus 314.16 plus 314.16 gets you a final answer of 1,193.82. So be careful there, guys, with your equation. Remember, you're working with a rectangle. Okay, the next piece I want to move on to, remember, we're not going to do all of these. Okay, what I want to do is I want to give you all the equations to these. I'm not going to go through every single one because all you're doing is plugging them in. But the equation for finding the surface area, or for the volume, sorry, of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay. The surface area, or the volume equation, again, I did it. The volume equation for a cone is 1/3 pi r squared times the height. Be careful with the r because they give you the diameter. Okay, and on this one, on number 6, I will do number 6 with you, the cylinder. Okay, you're using volume equals area of the base times the height. Now what you want to be careful of is that you're finding the area of the base. You have to be aware that the base shape here is a circle, and the area of a circle equation is pi r squared. Okay, now we need to plug in our r, so we have to cut our diameter in half. So 22 divided by 2 gets you 11, so pi 11 squared. Put that in your calculator. Okay, so pi 11 squared is 380.13. Now we want to take that area of the base and multiply it by the height. So 380.13 and multiply it by the height of that cylinder, which is 10. Okay, and when you multiply something by 10, all you really do is move that decimal over 1. So it really ends up being 3,801 and 3.3. And that's your volume. So it would be centimeters cubed. And you're done. I'll let you do the other two on your own. Okay, but the last piece I want to go over with you is actually doing these word problems, because that's what a lot of people have been struggling with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read this first problem. It says you are making a conical party hat that has a slant length of 10 inches and a diameter of 6 inches. How much paper will you need? Okay, so if we want to go ahead and draw this, we have a conical hat. So our hat from a cone, and it has a slant length of 10, so we can put our 10 over here, and a diameter of 6. It's a pretty small head, but we'll work with that. Okay, you may be making it for a little kid. So how much paper do you need? So really all you're doing is finding the surface area of this hat. But when you go to the surface area equation, what you want to be aware of is that you're using pi r squared plus pi rl. Okay, and that r stands for the slant length, so the slant length right here. Darn it. Hang on. Okay, so what you're doing is you're not actually covering the entire surface, and that's what this is taking in account for. What you're actually covering is this piece here. Okay, you aren't going to make a piece at the bottom. You aren't going to cover the bottom with anything. That part is going to cover your head. So what you don't want to take account for is this circle right here. Okay, you don't want to cover that surface. And we know the area equation for a circle is pi r squared. So we actually just want to cut this off of the equation. We only really want pi times the radius times the slant length. So to do that, we're going to do pi. The diameter was 6, so our radius is 3, and the slant length is 10. So when you put that in your calculator, pi times the radius of 3 times 10 gets you 94.25 inches squared. Now, if you were covering, let's say, 10 hats, like you were in the problem on the test, all you would do is take this 94.25 and multiply it by 10, okay? And that would be 942.5, and then you're done, okay? Nothing huge changes there, but like it says on the test, that's what you're doing. Okay, I want to look at number 8 too. Okay, and I'm going to read it. It says you have decided to use a hemisphere bowl at a party to fill with punch. How much punch will it hold if the diameter is 16 inches? Okay, so a hemisphere bowl essentially is a sphere cut in half. Okay, and it says the diameter. Okay, it tells you it has a diameter of 16 inches. Now what we want to do is we want to know how much it was going to go in this, how much punch we could put in. So what we're working with is the volume equation for a sphere. Okay, notice I didn't say hemisphere, I said sphere. Okay, and that is okay, so the volume equation is 4/3 pi r cubed. Now, what we want to go back to is we want to go back to our r is not the diameter. So we're going to plug in 4/3 pi, and our 16 becomes an 8, and it's 8 cubed. So put that in your calculator. Make sure you put parentheses around the 4/3. Pi 8 cubed. Okay, and that's going to get you 2,144.66. Now, what that does is actually finds the volume of an entire sphere. A hemisphere, like is pictured, is cut in half. So we want to actually divide this number by 2. So just take that 2,144.66, divide by 2, and you'll get your actual answer, which is 1,072.33. And that's your final answer. Okay, go ahead and finish all the problems here. Once you finish those problems, go ahead and ask your teacher for the retake portion of the surface area and volume section. Good luck.